be working on putting clothes on your character. So we're gonna try to. I'm just gonna try to show you a couple simple points that you can use that I normally use that help me to add clothes to a figure. So because I'm a little shoddy with drawing the female form and drawing clothes on girls, I decided I would do this video working on girls, and basically we'll grow together. So first character, I'm going to just draw some kind of soft clothes on her. I think I'm going to do the uniform that I kind of been working on for this manga that I've been doing. So one of the things I like to try to do when I'm adding clothes to a character is to think about kind of the stress points. One, understanding what fabric the character is going to be actually wearing. So if it's going to be kind of like a suit jacket type fabric, where the fold's going to be, if it's going to be leather, you know, other fold's going to be a lot smoother. Is it going to be something where it's kind of like a cotton shirt? Can the folds and stuff like that be a little bit sharp? And once you know that, you kind of think about your points and say, okay, you know, where are they going to be stress points? Where are they going to be kind of points where the fabric will, you know, essentially hang down and stuff like that. And I'm just drawing these dots right here because it's just a visualization of just me getting a better understanding of okay, you know, there's probably going to be some stress points here, or there's probably going to be some fold points here. And then right after that, what I like to do is, depending on what the fabric may be, I actually like to, and this is what I find a lot of people don't do, is when they draw the clothes directly on the character, you know? So you tend to get people drawing like this, and then like, okay, this is the shirt, right? Whereas, you know, when you wear a shirt, the fabric actually has a width, you know, there is a distance away. And this is what, regardless of whether you're cartooning or not, this is what gives your clothing an actual feel like it's on the individual, is when you create that space to say, okay, this person's wearing kind of a turtleneck type thing, but I know that it's about an inch thick. So you want to, you know, simulate that inch off the skin. Never draw the clothes directly on the body unless it's something that's actually skin tight. And what that will do is that will definitely give the clothing a lot more of a realistic feel. And let me go back because I didn't like the way I started that shoulder. And so, you know, a lot of the times when these really good artists, these great artists like Sakura or, you know, whoever else, they are imagining the clothes underneath the clothes. So if this girl's wearing a t-shirt or she's wearing a bra, all of those things are being considered when the clothes are being drawn. And so earlier I was talking about, you know, stress points or points where I know the fabric's going to drop. I know that the tip of the fabric is going to be here right at the crest of the breast. And I know from there, it's going to actually fall. So I want to simulate all of these things that you basically see in life. And you should be doing, you know, when you start out, you should be working with references and stuff like that to get a better understanding of how clothes fall and how they meet these stress or interactive points. Okay. And so right here, I had that dot again. I know that's where the armpit's going to be, and there's going to be a little bit of stress where that is, because that's where the fabric is going to fold in when the person's arm is down. So you can see that a lot in suit jackets and a lot of formal jackets that people wear because the fabric itself is very stiff. I'm also going to make the fabric just to sit right where her elbow and forearm meet a little bit, and just add a little bit of diversity to the jacket. It's always good to add a little bit of detail here and there, proper detail. And what it does is it breaks up the repetitiveness of, you know, how the clothing is set. And it tends to look a lot more realistic. You never really just kind of see a fabric just sitting there with no folds at all, especially if there's wind or gravity on it. You're gonna get some form of deviation. The fabric is just not going to be flat. So you want to consider that when you are doing your artwork. Okay, and so I'm doing a kind of like a chest flap here. and the flap is going to go forward because the breast protrude out, as you can see. And let's do a very quick side angle. So, you know, the breast protrude out, so the fabric itself is going to come out and then down. As you can see, I drew this down and not in, because unless the clothing is made so that it's tapered in, don't do that, because fabric doesn't do that. You have to really, even though you're cartooning, you have to really consider, you know, how it will be affected in the real world. And that stuff is really important to even making you know, your cartoons look very good. It's something like Attack on Titan, you know, great with the level of realism and how the clothes move, and you know, it all comes together, so you can just kind of focus on the story and focus on the action in the camera. All right, so I'm gonna let that drop down a little bit. It is a little tapered, and the outside of the shirt is going to be tapered a little bit too. So as you can see, I'm making the clothes pretty far off the character. And to be honest, they could actually be even further. I'm just not really trying to push it to the extreme because, like I said earlier, I'm not the best at drawing female characters. And so I'm trying to grow while I'm working with you guys right now. But, you know, that automatically, when you start to see that, that automatically gives you the feeling that, okay, the clothes are sitting on the character, you know, they're not glued to the character, as you may sometimes see with artists who are first starting out. And I used to do it all the time because it was just my way of thinking. Like, you just think the clothes are like, they are the character. So you tend to draw folds right off the puppet, and just at some point I just realized that doesn't make any sense. If I look at my own shirt, if I look at shirts from any of the studies or any of the, you know, fashion books I may look at, I'm like, clothes don't sit like that. Even if you have a turtleneck on, you know, like the Steve Jobs turtleneck, it protrudes out a little bit. You know, there is that added lip there. So I just started to make me think, like, when I'm drawing these characters and I'm thinking about my characters' designs and their clothing and stuff like that, how much fabric am I using? It's odd to think about because you're like, I'm not a fashion designer. Why am I thinking about how much fabric is being used when I'm creating character? Because I know that, you know, how long this sleeve is. I know that I have a little bit of slack to add bunching here, because I know once she puts her arm down, that her sleeve is actually going to drop down straighter, even further straighter. So I know that there's a little bit of slack in this area right here that I can add that. So it's very important that you keep in mind, you're constantly being conscious when you're drawing your characters, and you're drawing clothes on your characters, of just kind of what the clothing will look like, whether when it's stressed or what it's going to look like, you know, when it's bent. I know that I need to bring this, I need to bring the sleeve down, you know, a little bit more, because I know that when she bends her arm, so let me just do a quick makeshift arm here, that I'm going to want a specific amount of fabric that will bunch here, but still give her a cuff on her sleeve. And all right, she's not very happy. So you know, thinking like this allows for when you actually straighten out the character's arm. Let's do really just straight arm out here. That it just feels a lot more realistic, even if you have just, you know, a little bit of folds here and there. A lot better, you know. You just drawing is an illusion, so it's all about that feel that you kind of have, and then your mind will interpret it properly. But you have to kind of start thinking about your art in a bunch of different ways. So let's do a quick pocket here. Here we go. I'm just going to add some trim to give her jacket a little bit more detail. actually going to add side pockets. And so I know that the pocket is tilted forward. As you can see, the left side of her body, the pocket's a little bit further back, just because her hips up and the clothing is pulling back a little bit. Not to mention there's a lot less clothing visible on the left side of her body, but the pocket should still be very similar to the right side pocket. So let me clean this up here. And I'm working very quickly, so I'm sorry this isn't the sexiest pocket in the world. Okay. Also, another thing when you're drawing clothes, constantly remember depth. So you see I actually erased this line here, and I added this little lip here because that just makes the pocket feel a lot more 3D. Feels like it actually lives in that space. And those are the little details, to be honest, that really take your work to the next level. And it really gives the feel, you know, you just really feel like the character is alive, and you feel like the clothing, everything is just a lot more real to you. And I found that was another thing that I discovered when I was drawing. I felt like, oh, man, my artwork always looks flat. And it's because I'm not paying attention to, you know, the little added bit of trim that allows it to look like it's 3D, that allows it to feel like it lives in a three-dimensional world. And that is super, super important. So you can see you got this quick shirt here, and I'm actually going to erase her a little bit. Let's see. So that way the clothes feel like they fit her a little bit better. Or they don't look so see-through, I should say. All right, here we go. Boom. So, you know, already this jacket, it's obviously not the best jacket in the world, but it just feels a lot better. You really feel like it's sitting on her, you know, and not kind of glued to her. It doesn't, you know, feel too awkward. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this, and I'm going to fix this leg here. I know this, we're not talking about any of that right now, but I just feel like this leg is a little disproportionate. And so I'm going to just make it a little bit larger. And I was going to go with kind of these skin tight pants and then and do just a couple creases here, but I think I'm going to just step a little bit out of my comfort zone and do something a little bit baggier here for her. So I know that this is where the pants are going to stop, because she's going to have these boots on, right? So I know that that's where most of my fabric is going to fit. In my mind, I'm thinking that the fabric is this. In my mind, I'm thinking that the fabric is this long, that it's almost coming off of the screen, right? But what's going to happen is the fabric at some point is going to be stopped right here. So all of this is going to bunch up. All that weight is going to bring it down here, and that's where we're going to get our folds from. So let me start that here. So I know that the fabric's going to kind of start right here. So then when I start that, like the fabric's going to start bunching right around here. And that's when I kind of start bringing in my lines a little bit, saying, okay, I know that this much fabric is going to probably bunch out here. This is something I know based on all the references I've looked up and just kind of based on just practice. And once you just kind of look at a couple people's work and you can kind of see, not a couple people's work, once you look at a couple pictures and you see people wearing clothes, you'll start to get a better idea of what the folds are going to look like when clothing starts bunching. And it's very important that you do that, because it's too hard to think about it off the top of your head, especially if you haven't practiced it before. I know sometimes you see your favorite artists and you might watch their videos and they're like, you know, just drawing it off the top of their head, but that's just because they practiced it a million times before. So a crease I always like to do is kind of like this, like triangle kind of crease, because I see that a lot in pants. when they get bunched up. So and let's say she's just kind of wearing these, we'll just say she's wearing these military kind of pants. And that's why they're so baggy, because this is what she trains in. All right. It's going to be sitting here again. So I'm going to take that fabric and we're just going to start making the folds. Here we go. Yeah, so make sure you're doing the proper amount of practice and you're looking at a lot of references. I know a lot of people don't like to do that because they feel like, oh, I'm copying somebody's work. And the idea is, yeah, you are, but you're copying somebody's work to update your skills, So if you're in a math class or whatever, and you're copying math problems and you're getting the answers, it's the same thing, because you're kind of learning the technique to answer the question. So right now, if you're watching this video, you might have a problem drawing clothes on a character, and that's because you haven't practiced the solution yet enough, so that way you can make it your own. And so that is crucial, man, because like there's a lot less talented people in the world, but there's a lot of people that will work hard to get there. And so if you work, you can easily get to a point where you like your artwork and you like your style and you like what you're doing, and that you're on a whole nother level. And now you're improving upon that, or you're building upon that, or you feel comfortable doing work for pay and stuff like that. And that just comes with you practicing the solution enough, constantly practicing. There's not a day where I don't draw. And I think that's really if I am successful in any way, that's the key to my success. It's just working a little bit harder than the next person, going harder than the next person, and going at my personal best, So even if I fall short of somebody else, if I feel comfortable with how hard I kind of worked on something, then I can live with it. I'm just gonna add some pockets here. I'm gonna color in the coin change pocket. I don't even know why I really wanted to add that dot. That's like the little, it's like the little metal divot that they add there. So, all right, let's try this other piece now. We're gonna do the yellow top. And I'm gonna try to do some armor on this girl. So armor is a little bit different because there's a lot of space that is in between the armor and the character. So for example, if I do like a shoulder pad, right? The shoulder pad's probably going to connect right here. There'll probably be a strap that goes under her arm, and then it'll come out, and then it may come up, all right? And so in between here and here is a lot of space. The reason why I didn't go from edge to edge is because you have to constantly keep in mind and imagine that the metal shoulder pad is about this thick. Always keep in mind the dimensions of the clothing that you add, because then that's really what's going to build to add to the realism of your character's, costume and stuff like that. And so when I'm drawing armor, I like to actually build the armor on the character the way I believe they will have to put the armor on. And I think that really helps with layers and making the layers feel realistic. So I would say, any person who's putting armor on would put their chest plate on first, or would have to put their chest plate on, because then everything else builds off of that. So we're gonna imagine that she has like a shirt on underneath her chest piece. She probably will. We'll drag it down here like a tunic. All right. And right now we're just getting the lines down. And as you can see, it's the same principle with the school jacket I put on the other girl. There has to be space in between her breasts, her shirt, and then the armor. You constantly want to make that known and understood, because then it won't feel the armor won't feel like faulty. And so then I'm gonna say, all right, well, now we got the chest pad on. So one arm is probably gonna have a shoulder pad, and we're gonna say the shoulder pad connects here. We can draw that up. Bring this around here. And the reason why I do this little dip at the top is because I'm imagining, okay, if she raised her hand, then I want there to be enough space before, you know, her armor may touch her face or her head or something of that nature. So if I tried to just do it like this, that cuts off the mobility space I'm thinking of. And you have to think about this when you're doing character design, because if the character is going to be moving around or going to be doing action sequences, you're going to be really annoyed if you draw a character swinging over their head and you're like, oh, I can't now because the armor is like inside the person's face. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, so that's what I mean by considering the volume and considering how much space your armor actually the clothing will actually consume, because you have to be thinking about that when the character has to move. And we're just going to put a rivet here. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a tunic and just say, okay, part of her tunic is outside of the armor. You can see it through. I've been playing a lot of Witcher, so I'm kind of going to be inspired by some of the items of clothing in that. So if you see something like, oh yeah, that looks like something from The Witcher, it probably is. Or probably grab it from The Witcher. And then we're going to add some leather armor right where the bicep is. And when you're doing armor, right, you have to understand, you have to recognize like where the joints are. If your character is going to be moving, they're going to need joint space. And that's just the truth. You know, you got to consider that. Do a little strap here. And this is the joint area where she's probably going to bend her arm at some point. I added the folds here because I know this is going to be a stress point, or a point where folds are going to build up, because her armor now is getting scrunched into where her forearm guard is. And let me actually make the guard a little bit more form-fitting and not just kind of a block. All right, add the line in detail. And let's see, we're going to add a huge gauntlet to this hand. And so you can see every time I'm starting something, a new piece of armor, I'm making sure it's off of the actual puppet. You know, even the glove, if you've ever worn like thick leather gloves, you know that there's a space between where your hand is and like the edge of the glove, and that's why it's very difficult to grab things or hold things. And the same concept is here for this gauntlet, is that I want to make sure it feels like there's enough space between the fingers and the armor and whatever she may be carrying in the future. And I'm drawing these, and I'm drawing this very modularly because her hands and her fingers need a certain level of mobility. So in between the fingers, there's going to be some form of a fabric, maybe a cotton or maybe a chainmail or something of that nature. And that will allow whoever the wielder is to be able to just move around pretty easily, or easier than they would if it was just one metal hand, you know? Keeping these things in mind and considering these things, it really is the game changer. Because if you're sitting there and you're wondering, like, man, I'm drawing a ton and I'm actually even mimicking some of my favorite artists or whatever, and there's this thing I'm missing, it's like you're missing that little added detail that makes the clothing feel that much more realistic on your character. And it's crucial to take this into consideration each time you draw. Should constantly be conscious actually when you're drawing, but about just keeping a lot of things in mind. And you know what? I'm probably not going to go too much detail on this glove. So here we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the clothes a little bit baggy here. So I'm just going to make her tunic extend out. I don't want to make the video too crazy long. So I know you guys got things to do. I hope you got things to do. And what I mean by that is drawing. So if you're like, man, I don't know what to do, take out a pad, find a pen, some paper, and get your artwork on. And so just so that we get a better understanding, this is protruding forward. We're actually going to add a ledge here. And a little bit of shading. Give off the illusion that, okay. Down. Here we go. Also, too, when you're drawing clothes, you want to think about how the clothes actually curve onto the figure. So I'm drawing where the belt is, and you saw me do that line a couple times. Is because I really wanted to get the curvature right, because what that does is that adds depth. If you do a straight line, across, it's unrealistic because we know our bodies are not straight. Your mind knows the body is not straight. So you look at that and you're like, man, something's wrong here. Even though you've drawn a line straight across the body, it's because it doesn't. And it, like your pants or your waist or whatever, it always tends to loop forward or has some form of a curvature there because your body curves that way, because your body has depth. So let's say her tunic only goes this far. Let's see, and add the lines. And so let's say it stops like kind of right here. You know that where your iliac crest is, which is basically the top of your hip bone, that protrudes forward a little bit. And so, your clothes are going to come forward a little bit. And so you have to kind of, you got to be thinking about stuff like that. Or make sure you keep those things in mind when you're drawing. And I guarantee your artwork will feel a lot better. Initially it'll feel a little uncomfortable because you're not used to it. But then you'll start to realize like, oh, okay, that's why I'm curving that line here because this and because that. And even when you're trying to draw from reference or you're trying to draw from life and you're saying, okay, like, why am I not getting these pants right? It's probably because you're not capturing the depth properly. And you're not capturing the fact that the object lives in 3D space. It's one of the hardest things to do for me. Even still, there's a couple of 3D things that I can add to this belt that will make the belt feel a lot more realistic. But I'm so used to, laying the details down and then moving by quickly. So what I've learned is to kind of either stop myself or bring myself back to look at the details once again. Do a little sword here. Um, all right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just actually going to give her a couple greaves And then I'm going to make her pants tight leather pants with just some details on it. So here we go. By far not the sexiest thing I've designed, but it will have to suffice. It's more right now. The artwork I'm trying to put down is more about the idea. You know, I want you guys to. I want to just get the idea across that a couple of things. One, clothes sit on top of the puppet, so make sure there's enough space between your character or your puppet and the clothing, and that's going to give that more of that realistic feel. It's going to feel like, you know, the articles of clothing are actually slipped on. To take into consideration all of the stress points and fold points where the clothes will eventually meet, and that will also add a certain level of realism to your stuff. So and then lastly, consider the realistic 3D form. So when you're drawing certain lines across the body, even when I do these creases where the hips are, I'm making sure to curve these lines in because I know that there's a volume there. And even though you can't see the volume, when I start drawing the curved lines, you tend to feel them. You get a better aspect, and it's very subtle, but you know the difference when you see it. You can just feel the difference. There we go. Now let me do a little bit of shading here. All right. Okay, and now let me erase the pants and some of the clothes. I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit so it looks a little bit better at the end. Here we go. I have to do the top of her body a little bit more because for some reason it's way darker than her legs. Okay, everybody, I hope you liked the video. That was my quick tutorial on how to draw clothes on the puppet. 3 things you want to take from this: clothes sit on top of the puppet, consider your stress and your fold points, and consider your stress and your fold points. Man, I'm blanking right now. And remember the volume of the body and to add specific curves in certain places. Always check your references. Make sure you draw every day. And if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.